What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Figuring It Out Finance podcast, where we talk about travel hacking, personal finance, life hacks, and real estate. Now, this is the same podcast, but a new mic, so hopefully it's coming in through a little bit clearer. My name is Chris Rickenbaugh, and I'm your host as always. You're listening to episode number 35 today, and the big topic on today's podcast is if I were to go back to college. I think this is a huge topic for, kids around that probably junior to senior level of high school and trying to figure out what they want to do. So, before we get into it, go follow me on all the socials at Figuring It Out Finance on Instagram and TikTok. Go check out figuringitoutfinance.com as well as tuning into the podcast. I appreciate you guys tuning in. And a little bit of an update on the flip. It is currently under contract. Day 3, we were able to get this thing under contract for the accepted price that we kind of went in with the number expecting to get. So, we got that number right away and we said, yep, let's do it. Let's get it under contract. So, hopefully we'll be able to close about mid to late July and be done with it before the end of the month. So this is July 1st when this is going to be airing, so exciting times. So back to today's podcast. So if I were to go back to college, I have a lot of ideas on, where I was at that time and the mentality that I was in. I thought college is all new. We're going to have a fun time. We're going to be able to, pole vault, which was what I was doing because that's where I got a scholarship to go pole vault. And then I said, all right, well, my goal is to work in racing. So I'm just going to take a really broad major and then end up kind of doing that, seeing where that goes, because I need the major that's going to be in the sports world, and then I'm going to be able to go get a job in racing. So life didn't really go to plan, and I learned a lot along the way. So, I thought I'd break down pretty much what I'll talk about today is should you or should you not go to college, majors and minors to help you out, and then house hacking, because that's huge, especially for somebody going into college in their first or second year looking to save money, make money, who has an interest in real estate, but mainly just saving money. And even the parents, this is something that they could do if their kid's going to college and they know they're going to be there for about 3 to 4 years. So really interesting. So that is the last topic I'll cover later in the episode, but let's just jump into it right here. So should you or should you not go to college? And it's that fun answer that everybody wants is, it depends. So what do you want to study? Because most of the people that are going, are trying to figure it out. So are you just going just because you don't know what to do, or you know exactly what you want to do? So some of the people going in are saying, yes, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a doctor or a nurse. And that's awesome. They know what they're doing, so they're pretty set on that. But for people that were in my position of, I think I should be going, I don't really know exactly what I want to be doing just yet, but, I'll figure it out along the way. So I took something really broad so I'd be able to get, a good base and really try to learn, all the different things and see if I was, interested in one. So mine was sports management. So if you know that, it was really, really broad. Now I went to Lenoir-Rhyne and I can't say a whole lot of good things about what I learned there or could really walk away with. I felt like I read 3 books on my own about money and finances and management and business, and I felt like I learned more through those 3 books than I ever did sitting through 4 years of college. So I'm probably not the best one to ask on that. I felt like it was a lot of, in my case, I felt like it was a lot of you're here, you're getting an experience. So I went in, the last couple of years was saying, well, college is just going to kind of be an experience for me. I didn't really expect much from it or, get disappointed with what I was learning, because around my junior year, I started, taking it upon myself to really try and figure out and learn. And that's when I started reading and getting into real estate. So, if you don't know what you want to do, and another big factor is, are you paying for it yourself? Because I wouldn't take out a large amount of debt just for a slip of paper that says you went there for 4 years, because, that's a lot of money. So unless you know exactly what you want to do, this question should be a really big question for you. And, talked about, debated, is this the right move? So if you know exactly what you want to do, good. This podcast isn't exactly for you, or it will be later in this episode. But, for those people who don't know what they want to do, start brainstorming, because here's a couple ideas that you could walk into college with and really get a head start on life and growing a business for yourself. So the majors and minors. So like I said, if you want to be a doctor or a nurse, you know exactly what you want to do. That's awesome. So you need to be able to choose something. For the people who don't know what they want to do, you need to choose something that you're interested in. So for me, that was sports. So I was going to get sports management. It was going to be really broad, and I could kind of pick and choose about a year or two in to figure out where I wanted to go and how I wanted to do it. So with the sports management, like I said, really broad. So I got like the law, I got all different kinds of sports. And then what really aggravated me was that I was taking classes to where we just went out and played sports. It's like, this is the biggest waste of a couple $1,000s. And that's where school started to get really frustrating for me. So, with going into it, maybe sports isn't your thing, but maybe marketing is. So marketing's really, really broad. You're going to get a pretty diverse schedule, and you're going to get to learn a lot of different topics with what they try and teach you. I know you have to take a couple classes based on, or just to get through the first couple years, and then you get to really dive into the specifics. So you have about 1.5 to 2 good years to, get the general, I think they call it gen ed classes, the general education classes down. Maybe something sparks your interest, cool, but you want to pick a major that's something really broad, so you're going to get all of those aspects like sports management, but it's not going to be something so difficult that's going to take up your time. I took one anatomy class in college, and I felt like that took up my entire semester. I couldn't even tell you what I was doing in any other class, because that's a really more high-intensive memorization studying, so it's going to take up a ton of your time. So those nursing classes and classes that you're going to have to take to become a teacher, those are going to be really time-intensive. They're going to take up a ton of your time. So if you don't know what you're doing, I wouldn't suggest nursing or teaching be one of those majors, because it's going to take up a ton of your time. Marketing, sports management, some of those classes are going to be a lot easier, probably less homework for you to take home at night, and you're going to be able to work on the things you want to work on. So sorry about that. I keep yawning, but I would say if you're into clubs, if you're into finance, if you don't know what you're doing, start reading about some different topics and really take it upon yourself to figure out what you want to do, because that's where you're going to end up. If you go through all 4 years of college and all you did was party and take some boring classes, you're not going to be able to go out into the world with any real skills. So you need to be using that time, if you're taking an easy major or a broad major to where the classes aren't so hard, you need to be working on, not necessarily working at a Chick-fil-A, but you need to be learning different skills. So what I did in college was I was always working. I think I had, 3 different types of jobs. So I was doing personal coaching in pole vault. Then I was working at a athletic store, selling shoes. And then I ended up doing the marketing for them for an entire year, which I got a lot of really good knowledge about. And that helped me on some resumes and, just general knowledge. So I was able to take that general knowledge and then be able to go into interviews a lot more confident, because this is stuff that I actually learned. It's not just stuff I read and learned definitions through a classroom. I actually had real world experience, and that's what's really going to matter when you're typing up your resume at the end of the day and actually going in for these interviews. So real world experience, not just working with the school, because we had to take two internships at Lenoir-Rhyne, and I can't say I learned really anything about it. It was just doing the work that I was doing. But when I went to my other job at Fleet Feet, I was actually getting that real world experience. So the marketing, the event planning, working with different brands that would come into the store. So that's real world experience. So, like I'm saying, you need to be working towards the future, building those real world experiences if you're not going to be a doctor or a nurse or a teacher or something like that. So real world experience, even working with the sports teams, that could be real world experience too if you're thinking about coaching or really passionate about that. So getting into our last topic here is house hacking. So house hacking is super important, no matter what major. If you're going to college, this is what you should be doing if you're generally responsible. So this is perfect for if you have a group of friends and you pretty much go through the same process as getting an apartment and just sharing rooms, sharing the rent, because what house hacking is, it's buying a house and then renting out the rooms to decrease your living expense. So this is perfect for somebody who's having to pay their way through college, because they could have saved up money before they went to college, saved up money in the first year, because all you need, if you're looking to buy a 3-bed, 1-bath, or 2-bath, it's about $200,000 house. You're looking at about a 3 to 3.5% down payment on a house, because it would be owner occupied. And what you could do is you can partner with your parents, because it's kind of the same if you're getting an apartment, because you don't have income. So what they do is they put your parents on the lease too, so that if you don't decide to pay the rent, then your parents would be liable for that. So that's how the apartments secure themselves. So it would be the same if you're partnering with your parents on buying a house, because like I said, you don't have income, but if you have the money and your parents are supplying it, you could put it in your name. That way you're building equity in the house over the 3 to 4 years that you're in college, maybe a little bit longer, and you're having your friends pay down the mortgage. So say your mortgage is $1,500, and to stay at the school, it would cost you about, probably, once you break it down, $8,000 to, or a lot of money. Anyway, just paying for housing on campus is generally pretty expensive. So if you could use $7,000 and buy a $200,000 house, rent out the extra rooms to your friends, maybe put up another wall in the living room, and now you have 4 bedrooms, you're living in one, renting out the other 3, you could charge your friends $500 per room per month, bringing in that $1,500, which pays down your mortgage every single month. So even if you had to rent an apartment, you'd be paying about $500 a month. So if you can get your friends to pay that for you while they're renting a room, maybe they can double up and you can charge $750 a room and they can split it with somebody else. You can get really, really creative with this, but you could be saving money and even putting money in your pocket while staying off campus and probably a more comfortable place, because, college kids, they like to get a little bit rowdy. So they can have a little bit more room to be a little bit louder and just annoy neighbors rather than other people in an apartment. So it's a win-win on both sides, but it's better than an apartment, and it teaches home ownership, and then you could sell it after 3 or 4 years for a profit, or keep renting it if that's the way you wanted to go. Because, like I said, you can save more money or even make money off of the house while you're living in it. And then once you move out, you could rent out your room for $500, making $1,000 a month when your mortgage is only $1,500. So that's $500 in your pocket every single month. So you could keep it in cash flow after moving out of college, or you might like it and continue buying houses, keep it cash flow. But the big thing is here, you're building equity inside this house. So say you keep it for 3 or 4 years, you're moving away, you don't need to keep it, so you just sell it. Now you're looking at a little bit of a chunk of equity that you're selling from. So, that could be your starter for, $15,000 to $30,000 in your pocket once you graduate that you could go and use, for other things, because you're going to have a lot of expenses coming out of college. And all this does is set you ahead while not costing you any money. So even if you're coming out of pocket $100 or $200 a month, that's so much better than paying those high expenses of living in a nicer apartment, renting a place, or staying on campus, because it's putting money in your pocket at the end of the day. That's why house hacking is so important. And not a lot of people talk about this, but, when I was a senior, it finally hit me, because going into my junior year, it was during COVID. And if I was if I had been reading real estate, this is what I would have done for the last 2 years. And I would have kept the house and keep renting it out, because I was on the track team, knew a lot of people, and they would have been able to rent those rooms. But I was a little bit late on that game. And I'm like, oh my gosh, man, you could have had 3 houses if you were saving money or making money on the side, because each year you can go and buy another house on an owner-occupied loan. And if you sell it, if you've lived in it for 2 of the last 5 years, then you get the tax advantages of not having to pay taxes since you were living in it. So there's just so many advantages of house hacking, and college is the perfect spot to do that, because you're locked into that, town for 3 or 4 years. And you could rent out those rooms and then just keep building equity. You could buy another one, rent it out to, a couple of the friends from the different sports teams. So many different options, money-making options that you could use. And then you could just dive further into real estate or keep building a business off of this. That's going to probably make you a lot more money than whatever that major is. So at the end of the day, house hacking, always a win, no matter if you're in college or any stage of your life. It's going to cut down on your expenses at the end of the day. So that's about all I got for today. So we went over, should you or should you not go to college? It really depends. And then majors and minors. If you know what you're going for, awesome. Keep it. But if you don't, I would suggest getting something a little bit broad to widen your perspective and see if anything clicks, see if you like anything. But what you should always be doing is house hacking, because you're building a business, your costs are going to be low, and it might be putting a little bit of money in your pocket. Always a big win, and I'll keep continuing to do more episodes on college and house hacking, because it's such a huge, piece of the game while you're starting out, because a lot of these kids come out of college in a ton of debt and they don't understand. It's because they took out those huge loans and didn't know what they wanted to do with their lives, and now they graduate and take this little marketing job that they thought was marketing, and now they're door knocking, trying to sell insurance or trying to sell internet, and that's not what you want to be doing. So here's how you can get ahead and probably put $15,000 to $30,000 in your pocket easy by the time you end up not going to school. So now you have time to figure it out, make sure you get the right job. Now you have experience of being a landlord and show that you're responsible. So, a huge win for house hacking, and you just get that real home ownership and, learning how to manage. So, which is also a skill you can put on a resume that beats, a slip of paper that says you went to the school for 4 years. So, all in all, house hack always. And I appreciate you tuning into the Figuring It Out Finance podcast. Keep listening. Leave me comments. Shoot me a DM on Instagram or TikTok if you have questions. You can go take the survey that's on the website at figuringitoutfinance.com. I'd love to answer it and go back and forth. But that's all I got for today. So thanks for tuning in. And this is Chris Rickenbaugh signing off for episode 35 of the Figuring It Out Finance podcast. We'll see you next time.